It's also a really good time, I think, to be having this conversation. It's always a good time, but this is a particularly good time. We can take a look back at, 2025 and all of the interesting things that happened. May you live in interesting times for sure. And we could take a look forward. You have Autonomy Day coming up, and then you have the launch of the R2 in the first half of next year. And you have all kinds of interesting things going on with your Volkswagen joint venture, where I visited recently. And so let's get into it. I do want to start off with Autonomy Day, right? I know you can't tell us all the cool stuff that you're going to do because then it wouldn't be a surprise. But can you give us a preview, and can you maybe just talk about autonomy in general, like why it's important? It doesn't seem like super important, like in this moment, like people aren't rushing out to get, self-driving cars. Um,
Yeah,
but it will be, right?
yeah. Yeah, why don't we talk broad first? I mean, for us, we're building a business that's designed at its core to be significantly bigger than we are today. And in saying that, that means we need to have a long-term view on technology. And we've taken the approach around identifying the technical areas that we think are going to be really important, and then vertically integrating and building extreme competency in those areas. And so some of that has already played out and is you can sort of see manifesting in both our products and in the relationships we've created. So we've built our electronics and our software in house, and built this really incredible capability to develop these systems. And that, of course, we see in our first set of products, our one products, which are flagship set of products. We're about to see it, the next version of our integrated software hardware solutions in our R2. And then, of course, we see it embedded in a large partnership we put together with Volkswagen. It's a $5.8 billion software licensing arrangement we have with Volkswagen Group. And so we're going to see it across a whole range of different products that exist under the Volkswagen portfolio of brands. So with that said, that was built on the conviction of really believing that software-defined architectures were going to be critical in the long term in terms of customer experience, in terms of that's inclusive of the user experience, like the UI and the interface of the vehicle, but also just the overall operations of the vehicle. And I would say to an even larger degree, we believe that autonomy is going to redefine how we think about vehicle ownership. And so, today, as you said, it's not the driving criteria for a lot of purchasers, but once we get past the phase we're in today, where it's most of the systems are more assistance systems, but into the world where the vehicles allow you to take your hands off the wheel and, importantly, your eyes off the road, that ability to have your time back, to be able to be in the car in the commute and be on your phone, be reading a book, be resting, and then as we move even beyond that eyes off, hands off environment, but into an environment where the vehicle can operate empty, it dramatically changes your life. It allows you to pick up your kids, but not have to go drive there yourself to get them. It allows elderly to access mobility in ways that they haven't before. And of course, it unlocks new business models. The one that gets a lot of attention, of course, is robotaxis. But I've said this many times. I think personally owned autonomy is going to be really powerful as well. And close to 99% of the miles driven on our roads in the United States are in personally owned vehicles, and I think it's likely that a majority of the miles stay in personally owned vehicles, just given the wealth that exists in our country. And so we see personally owned autonomy being really important. Anyways, with all that said, we've taken the approach of also building out the capability to do this. And so our Gen 1 vehicles, what we launched in the end of 2021, about 4 years ago, had a very different architecture. About that same time, so about 4 years ago, we kicked off an effort internally to vertically integrate a very different technology approach to self-driving, which is a shift away from a rules-based environment and towards an end-to-end AI-centric environment. And to do that well, you have to control all your perceptions. You have to control your cameras, your radar. You have to be able to feed that into a really robust data flywheel. That data flywheel is being trained by the vehicles that are being driven, so being trained by the car park, by the vehicles on the roads. And so that launched in the middle of 2024, about a year ago now. And we're about to show with AI Autonomy Day what's to come. And, I'd put it like this: the next few years are going to look entirely different than the last few years, not just for Rivian, but I'd say for the automotive industry in general. Just the rate of progress, if you look 5 years forward versus 5 years back, the slope of the curve is wildly different. And of course, the big, giant technical innovation that's happened in the last couple of years is the use of transformers for doing encoding, and
Right.
just the whole nature of AI has dramatically changed. We see that most fully in large language models, but we're about to see it in the physical world in many applications, one of which is vehicles.
Now, when we think about, obviously, it's a road to autonomy, right? It's not like you're going to turn it on tomorrow. Um,
Mm.
when do you think you'll be like at what we call it now? We call it level 2+, right? Where you can have your hands off the wheel, but you're monitoring the driving, mostly
Yeah,
on highways, right? And then at some point, you'll allow some eyes off the wheel, right? Where
yeah,
you could do like a text message or something, but you have to be partially engaged in case the car wants
yeah.
you to take over. And then at some point in the future, I imagine by the end of the decade, maybe they'll completely drive themselves, and you can maybe potentially sit in the back seat. What does that timeline look for Rivian?
Well, so as it is today we have hands off. So if you're on the
Right.
highway today, you can take your hands off the wheel, and provided you're still like looking at the road often,
Sure.
the system operates. Yeah, of course, you can glance away for some time, but not unlimited time.
Right.
That's going to expand. If you think of our roadmap, that will expand to hands off everywhere. And then
Okay.
following hands off everywhere, we'll have overlay that with point to point navigation. So you get in the car, you plug in your address, it can drive to that address with no involvement from you other than being in the driver's seat and being aware.
Monitoring. Yeah.
And then importantly is all of that plus eyes off in specific situations, the most valuable of which are highways,
Yeah.
starting with highways and then going from highways to everywhere. And so once you get to hands off, eyes off everywhere, with, of course, point to point navigation, the next step is allowing you to not be in the vehicle. And so our view is that that's going to happen well before the end of the decade.
Okay.
Uh, and I think this is where my point on just the changing mindset of customers is: once you get used to not having to drive your car and having the
Yeah.
time back,
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard, I think, for customers to accept anything less than that. And when you have these big technical changes, there's often like the things that happen before the technical shift. So if you take like the iPhone,
Hmm.
um, all the things that are embodied in an iPhone that make it so powerful today existed in like smaller scale, less fully developed forms. You had MP3 players that emerged. You had phones you could check your emails on. Um, you even had Apple producing one of those things, and I put 1,000 songs in your pocket. But it was the convergence of all those things together that suddenly made all phones that weren't a full smartphone really irrelevant. And I think in the same way, today we have driver assistance systems, the best of which can allow you to take your hands off the wheel in a highway situation. But when we start to see the ability for the vehicle to fully and completely operate itself, analogous to what we see in a Waymo vehicle and in a robotaxi, but those
Right.
worlds converge where that level of autonomy is available on a personally owned vehicle, and not costing, $50,000 in perception and compute, but rather you being similar to what you'd be buying today. That's going to be a pretty big shift. It's going to shift how we make decisions. I think it's going to lead to big swings in market share. So we're saying all that. This is I couldn't be more bullish on the importance of autonomy.
Okay.
It's we spend more R&D dollars in this area than anything else across the whole business. It's that important. I think to do it really well, you need a few ingredients that are hard to get. You need to have complete control of the perception platform. You need to be building an AI-centric approach, meaning it's trained end to end. You need to be off of the, call it autonomous vehicle 1.0 architectures of purely rules-based environments. You need to have a really robust data flywheel. That data flywheel needs to have really a strong set of perception information coming in. We believe multiple modalities will help train the brain, so to speak, faster. So cameras plus radar at a minimum. But I don't think there's a lot of companies that have all those ingredients, and certainly even fewer that are working on a full solution. And so we're bullish on this. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about it in a few weeks. So I don't want to steal all the thunder of the things we're going to show. But we'll demonstrate it as well. We'll show everything I've just said, so folks can get a chance to get a glimpse into what we're working on.